Hello, my Rave babies out there. I'm Neon Nightstorm, and welcome to Sincerely Rave Mom. Yay! After a few months of planning, writing questions, editing, producing the intro and outro music, yes, all me, I am so proud and so happy to announce this podcast to you. Now, this is not your average rave podcast. Partaking in favors at events is a lot more normal than a lot of people want to admit. Unfortunately, there is a lot of shame in favor usage, and with shame comes lack of knowledge and misinformation. As someone who's been raving for 6 years, people do partake. And instead of pretending that this isn't a thing, I'm here to be your rave mom and teach you what you need to know. I have planned an 8-episode series that I'll be releasing every Monday. Each week, there'll be a creator that you probably recognize to talk about the topics I have planned. Today's episode is a deep dive into drug interactions, and if you're thinking about partaking, here's information you should know to stay safe, healthy, and alive. My goal is and always will be harm reduction and ending overdose. Because my goal with these videos isn't to get monetized, I have a pretty open field when it comes to talking about things I'd have to censor on other platforms, even here on YouTube if I ran ads. I really want to emphasize that in order to give you all the proper harm reduction education you need, I have to be blunt, and so do the guests on my podcast. Some of the topics in this episode may be triggering as we talk about hard drugs, drug interactions, signs of an overdose, and someone almost losing their life at Base Canyon last year. While these topics may be triggering, everything said in this video is designed to educate you on harm reduction and ending overdose. And while most of my videos direct back to that, not every episode will be about partaking in favors. Other episodes are going to be about each letter of plur and what they really mean to the EDM scene. There's also going to be episodes about general rave and festival knowledge, problems in size inclusivity in raveware, information about naloxone, or more commonly known as Narcan, candy, perlers, and even some rave bay horror stories. Because of time purposes, I've had to edit all of my episodes, but I truly tried to keep the videos as authentic as possible. I wanted this first episode just to be a landslide of education for any new ravers who may need it, or even old gen ravers who weren't properly educated the first time or could use a little reminder. With all that being said, let's get to the first episode.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Sincerely Rave Mom. We have Hi, I'm Sarah today. If you know her on TikTok or any other platform, you know what? I was going to ask your pronouns, so I am so happy to be corrected right now. All right, so they go by they for anybody who need to be corrected like I did. So we're going to be doing a deep dive on drug interactions and how if you're at a festival gonna be partaking, this is how you stay safe. We're gonna be talking about things like cocaine, ketamine, MDMA, Molly, all the things. So if you're gonna be partaking in this is how you stay safe and all that. So before we get into all of the drug interaction stuff though, we're gonna do a quick little get to know you just so your followers can get to know you a little better and have just more of an idea of who you are. So obviously we already got pronouns, but what is the name that you like to go by?
I like to go by Sarah. So
Okay.
I know a lot of people think it's pronounced Sar is what I get a lot when you guys come up and meet me, but it's Sarah. Like think like Sarah Bear or like Sarah minus the
Okay. So Sarah to
Yeah.
go by they. I'm by the way, I know we're friends. I am so sorry that I did not know that. I feel like I'm having this moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of anyways, but I will make sure from now on I always correct by that. So how old are you?
I am 24 years old. I'm about to turn 25 in 2 weeks though.
Wow, we're really close in age.
Yeah.
Because I'm turning 25 in July. When and what was the first event you attended? Did it change your life, or was it another show or life event that made raving become much more prominent in your day-to-day life?
So my first show was actually Hippie Sabotage, and I want to say it was like 2014 was when I went, and it was okay, but it wasn't that much of the, I guess, like EDM scene that you would typically see today. And then I went to BTSM with a few friends in 2018, and that was the show that kind of changed everything for me. And since then, I have just been full in dedicated, and I have loved it ever since.
So do you consider BTSM the artist that got you into it then? It's okay. So was it just the show? It was definitely the artist as well. I love
100% the artist. I went in with like zero expectations. I had brought friends to a BTSM show before and they had talked about how awesome it was. And so when I had the opportunity to go, I was like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay.
I love
And
that.
yeah, oh my God, it ended up being amazing.
So who's your rave mom or rave dad? Are you still close with them?
I mean,
that like mood. Just literally that side I feel that so hard in my soul.
So when I went to the BTSM show in 2018, I wouldn't necessarily say that. Like, honestly, I was the rave mom because I was guiding some friends they had never been to the city before. I had grown up in the city, so I was kind of guiding them. And then I guess I never really had a rave mom. Going into my first festival, I kind of had a rave mom. However, connections with her slowly dissipated as she dealt with some drug issues herself.
Feel that.
And yeah, that's kind of part of the Rave fam situation that I had dealt with in the last year or so that we'll
Oh,
be
really?
talking about later
Oh,
on.
wait, really?
Yeah.
She was a part of that? Oh, wow. I haven't been friends with
Yeah.
my rave mom for like 3 years. I had to cut her off and block her on everything. Um, I said this in the last one I mentioned her, but girl, if you're watching this, I wish you peace. I really hope you know that. I wish you peace. You've been through a lot. So she was definitely my rave mom, but she left me my first rave. Like she literally like gave me Molly and was like, and then I was like rolling and she just left me, but left me with a group that she trusted. So like I understand at the same time, but like I
I would not. That's
it's
not
so complex.
acceptable.
It's probably why we're both this is a question I guess I can ask you now. I'm guessing you consider yourself more of a rave mom because I definitely do. Like that's sincerely rave mom this podcast, you know. I would say that me not having a rave mom is kind of the reason why I've always been a rave mom.
I mean, I guess, how do you define rave mom or like rave parent in this instance?
I guess and when you go to an event, do you kind of have the mindset of like I'm a brave mom like that? I know that's kind of how I think about it. Like I'm always looking out to help people. I'm always there to like like a mom, you're always there kind of looking out for everyone else. Rave parent, whatever you want to call it.
I kind of always, the term that I have likened and taken it to is rave manager.
Ooh, I
I
like
like
that.
to be, yeah,
I like
okay, because
that.
the reason why I like that term better than rave parent is because I feel like rave parent has like you have to worry about like the other people at the event. I
Mm,
don't get me wrong, I'll always keep my eye out for people at the event, but I like to prepare myself before the event and establish all of these different safety procedures and things like that. So that when we get to the event, I don't really have to do anything. I don't have to
mm.
actively be taking care of someone because they can just ask me, "Hey, do you have this? Do you have this?" I can give it to
I
them and
love
then they
that. That's
can,
actually I
yeah,
mean,
and they can handle it
that's
on
a
their
rave
own.
manager, honestly. No, I love that. That is a
Yeah.
perfect term for that.
I feel like, oh, sorry. I
No,
feel
you're
like
good.
being a rave parent, I don't want to say sometimes it takes away from like your overall experience at the event, but like I know people who recognize as being a rave parent have been often relied on too much. And I
Yeah,
don't want to create that dependence within my rave
I feel
fam.
that.
Like I want you to be your own autonomous individual and be able to know how to navigate this place if I'm not around because
No,
sometimes
that's
I'm
actually
not.
valid. Honestly, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Considering when you said that, I kind of just hit for a second. I was like, you know, I've actually had multiple times and multiple like events where I've had to sacrifice a lot of my own night just to protect the people I'm around. But I think what you do, which is kind of establishing boundaries and establishing just a
Mhm.
communication basically of this is how you stay safe beforehand so you don't have to do as much. And I think that maybe if I would have done that with the people that I was with, that I wouldn't have had to sacrifice my night so much because they would have had a little more autonomy for themselves. All right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like we're all adults and
Yeah.
we should know how to take care of ourselves. We should all know our own boundaries. So we're not getting
Facts.
to the point where you need to overly rely on another person to take care of you because that's as much as we normalize it in this community, that's not a normal thing to do.
Yeah, it's not normal to be incredibly blacked out and to
Yeah.
have to be like yeah, and we'll get more into that later. So, going
Yeah.
yeah. So now switching over again, what is your favorite festival to attend?
Oh, come on. You have to ask me that question. I feel like
But for the people watching. I was like, I already know, and I feel like you already know mine, but we're asking for the people who don't know. Remember?
Base
Yes,
Canyon forever
honestly.
and for always.
I still will not get over the fact that last year I was walking. This is gonna make you laugh. I was walking to the med tent because my period started. Literally, on we were walking to the shuttle bus, and I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And I looked at my friend Michael and I
You're
was
like,
like,
I feel it.
yeah, I feel it. I feel it. So he was like, oh my God, we got to go to the med tent. And I was like walking to the med tent and I saw you there. And I was like, maybe I should say hi. Maybe, no, I'm not going to say hi. And then like there was this battle for like a whole minute of whether I should say hi. Then I didn't.
That's so funny because the people at the med tent who did say hi to us, who recognized me from TikTok, ended up being a super, super, super close friends to our Rave fam, and they go to events with us now.
That's funny. All right. So what is your dream festival then outside of the US?
Oh, I don't know if I honestly have a dream festival outside of the US. I feel like
Really?
in comparison to other ravers, I low-key kind of have, I don't want to say like low expectations, but like or no, like low aspirations is the word I'm
Oh,
looking
so you're
for.
kind of like set with where you don't have you're kind of set with the festivals you've been going to?
I'm pretty content. Yeah, like I from seeing other ravers' experiences through their vlogs and different things like that, like
That's what I love about Raver
I
vlogs.
yeah, it's like I know my own limitations in
Yep.
terms of like dealing with crowds,
Yeah.
in terms of dealing with different subcultures and things like that, or like
Facts.
even regionally within like the US, raving in Florida is really different than raving in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, the
And
crowds are much different.
yeah, and so it's
I've
like,
heard the crowds are much different. I want to go to
yes,
Paradise Blue. That is definitely like I
yes.
feel like if that's outside of the US technically. It's in Mexico, it's in Cancun. So I was like that's my only one I want to go to. Like I Tomorrowland would be cool, but that's expensive.
Yes.
And
Oh my
honestly,
God.
Paradise Blue if you go in the resort, all inclusive drinks. That's all I'm saying.
I was just seeing everyone's video and I was like, okay, you're right. Paradise Blue is outside of the US. So maybe, oh, actually, you know what? I take it back. I want to go to Shambhala in Canada.
Oh, no, you know what?
I,
That's a good we forget that Canada and Mexico are like just barely outside. That really shows honestly how like content we both kind of are because we don't want to travel outside of the I think that's still in North America. Well, technically isn't Mexico. That's not oh God. Someone's gonna
it's
come
North
at me.
America.
I was like, is Mexico North America still? Okay.
Yes.
It's been, I used to make fun of the parents on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, but I'm starting to get it
Okay,
now.
I understand now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm starting to even working with kids too. Um, all right. So, do you do any flow arts?
Yes, I do. I do several flow arts. I recently just picked up koi. I'm not good at
Ooh,
it yet, but
always
it's an
hard.
interesting one to learn. It's hard to coordinate both hands because my other flows are flow star, and I've been doing that since July of last year.
I just
And
started
then
Flow Star like 3 months ago. Bless AG
it's
for sending
hard.
me one. No, I can get a lot of stuff, but just the spin alone, I am still struggling. Like holding
Yeah.
it, I want you to know I'm at a point where I am timing how long I can spin it for, just because I'm like, even if it's a half second, even if it's a half second longer, it's still progress.
It's hard, man. You just gotta keep trying at it. And then Levy Wand is I got at the end of June last year, so we're
Ooh.
coming up on a year of that. Yeah.
Ooh, I just started hooping
So
a couple weeks ago because I literally picked up a hoop at work because I needed to fidget so bad, and I started looking up like videos early like later that day because I was like, oh my gosh, I can like fidget with a hoop at work, and I looked up like how to start hooping. So like at work when we're at rec, I'll just be like hooping
oh,
and stuff.
I want to get a hoop too. I'm like they're so oh my God, they're like my favorite flow to look at, I think
That's
overall.
the only flow I do considering like I mean a flow star, and I don't know if is shuffling a flow style? I don't think so.
I
Shuffling's
think it's a
dancing.
flow. I
I was
think
like,
shuffling is a flow if you have the light up shoes.
okay, duly
I
noted. I'll
think
give you
the
some light up shoes. All right. Who are your favorite EDM artists?
Oh man. BTSM, Vulcan. I love Vulcan so much.
Oh,
He's
you should send me a couple song recommendations from them because I don't think I've listened to them. So
I
definitely send me some song recs because I'm always looking for new artists.
he's immaculate. If you've seen Excision live in the last year, you have heard Vulcan
Oh,
played
I've seen
live
him
in the
multiple
last
times. I
year.
saw him at Lost Lands and at Base Canyon.
Yep,
So
you've
I
heard him then.
100% think that he's going back to back with Subtronics at Base Canyon. 100%. I'm betting money with my friends. I'm like, Because think about it, he did Millennium in 2021, and then he did Wooly last year. And I just think with how Subtronics is like blown up within the, especially the last year, I just have this feeling like Subtronics literally closed out Lost Lands Day 2, and then he closed out Base Canyon Day 2 last year. I had to miss it because of overstimulation. Love that for me. I had to go back to camp, and I heard his set. Hardstyle gives me anxiety, so Keizo's set really just set me off. But yeah, I think Subtronics is going back to back with him. I'm placing bets right now.
That's what B said too as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I think no, I really think so. Like I'm thinking of the big artists, and I have this feeling that it's gonna be Subtronics. So all right,
looks like it. The name matches. Oh.
So what are your favorite and least favorite EDM genres?
I mean, like,
and this is, by the way, just so anyone, in case anyone's listening, this doesn't mean that we are hating on these genres.
No.
Like, it just means that we personally, it does not tickle our brain. Hardstyle literally gives me anxiety, so I cannot listen to hardstyle at all.
It's different strokes for different folks, and that's okay. All right,
like I love seeing people get the fuck off to drum and bass. I'm like, yeah, me, no, so good. But like you look, I love just seeing people be happy. So if they're going off to drum and bass, and I like, if there's like a drop and I don't like it, but I see other people being happy, I'm like, that's what matters. You're happy. So what are your, let's start with your favorite. What is your favorite EDM genre?
Oh man, dubstep, bass, like everything encapsulating within that, and all of the subgenres within that. Honestly, I can
more sub the better.
Yeah, like more sub the better.
What about least favorite then? Do you have a least favorite or one that you don't listen to?
I really don't like D&D and hardstyle. Those are like within bass, D&D and hardstyle are like, I just can't listen to it. In genres overall, I don't really like trance.
You know, it's funny. We are so similar. I was just thinking to myself, the only other thing I really don't like is trance. That's
yeah. Like if it's combined with something else, then maybe I can get behind a little trance. But like I can get behind techno, I can get behind house. Like honestly, I can get behind a lot more house than people would be. I feel like
the only reason I like house is because I shuffle now. I've told that to multiple people that the only reason I listen to house now is because I shuffle. 2 years ago, before I started shuffling, I didn't listen to house at all. I unfortunately was one of those people who kind of made fun of it, and I feel really bad about that now. And I've apologized to every single person. I'm like, I'm so sorry, because I feel differently now.
I definitely make fun of it with my bass friends, but it's like I don't know. I don't really have any friends who listen to house. Like
bass house is what really got me. Have you heard any bass house?
Yeah, that's kind of what's been edging me into house.
Okay, literally
like, listening to it on my own. I'm like,
no,
okay, this kind of slaps.
Dosh Star VIP. If you are trying to get into bass house or just house in general, that's what I play for bass heads. I'm like, are you sure you don't like house? Because I'm about to play you a song.
That song gets me driving at bad speeds. Oh my god.
If you like that one, you should listen to Show Me VIP by Abstract. Very similar vibe. Oh, don't worry, we'll get some song recs after this, because I definitely want to listen.
I looked for my phone and then I was like, I'm freaking recording on it. So
no, I totally feel that. All right, so we're almost done with the get to know you questions, but we still have a few more minutes on time, luckily. So who is an artist you have yet to see and you've been dying to see?
Grizz.
Really? You haven't seen Grizz yet?
I have not seen Grizz
for some
yet.
reason, I thought you would have. Like, you just seem like such a Grizz person. You really do.
I know, right? I'm like, that's why it's like, fuck, I haven't seen this man yet. Like, come on. I don't know what he's been to the Pacific Northwest like once in the last
That's true. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, he doesn't come over here very much, or even to the California area. Also, I don't know if you heard, but he took off a song. I'm not going to say the name of the artist. Maybe something really matters, but there's just claims on a certain artist, and Grizz did a song with that artist, and he like took off the song from streaming because he didn't want to be what's the best way to put this? So Grizz did a song with an artist, and that artist had sexual assault allegations come out, and Grizz said, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of that." So he literally stopped, he didn't allow that song to stream anymore, and does not. So I thought you'd like that information. Someone commented on my someone commented on my TikTok, and I was like,
who's the artist? I'm like, what song was it?
Blunts and Blondes. If I can edit this out, it's Blunts and Blondes. Yeah, so I was like, I don't know if I want to say this in my podcast,
That's
but yeah,
hella
I can
funny.
just edit it out. Yeah, I was with Blunts and Blondes, and they commented that, and I was like, dude, I just gained a level for respect. I followed Grizz on everything after that, just because I was like, I love
Yeah.
you, just because of that. Like from that alone, we love that energy. So,
I've always
um,
respected I've always respected his perspective as a queer artist in
yeah,
this
I've listened to his
industry.
like he's been on podcasts a couple times, and I've
Yeah.
tuned into those episodes just because of him. Like I don't personally like his music very much, but him as a person, oh, I love him as a person, and that's just his
I feel
brain.
like you're gonna love him after Base Canyon.
I
Or have you
hope, you
seen him?
know what? I have not actually. So I want to. I'm one of
It'll
those
be a
people.
first for
So
you.
I
Maybe
I've
we can
listened to
experience
some.
that together.
I love that. I look, here's the thing. I don't like Ella Stream's music, but his visuals, I'll stay his whole set for the visuals alone. Like I literally
Do you
sat
like
and
wonky music?
no.
You're not a wonky music person?
So
No way.
unfortunately, I don't know what it is, but I think the only time I've ever liked wonky music was when I was like super deep in a trip. And like
What
that it had
about
to
Zingara?
I think she's an amazing person. I think her content's great. I do not like her music though. But that's just me personally. I know it doesn't tickle my brain.
What?
So
That's
I've never been into the
wild.
wonkier bass style. Like I just never have. It has to be like people are please don't hate me in the comments. I'm telling y'all, it's just it doesn't tickle my brain, okay? Grizztronics, like the song that literally made Subtronics big. I did not. But that's just me.
What?
I don't know what it is.
You
Like
like
there are
Subtronics though, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So Subtronics
Okay.
adds rhythm and dubstep into it. So that's
Yeah.
I am maybe it's the autistic I am, but I don't get any pleasure from that sub wonky bass. I just don't. But from the bam, bam, over and over again, yeah. Nazar, like if you've heard Nazar,
I
that's
love
the
Nazar.
Nazar's the shit that gets me.
I
So
think you
like,
would I think you would really like Vulcan. I'm definitely gonna send you
however,
some Rex.
However, I will say about sub wonky bass, like that kind of stuff, I like it at festivals a lot more. Like I don't usually like trap, but I stayed at an entire Taboo set at Base
Mm.
Canyon just because the sub bass is different at festivals. Like I want
Yeah.
y'all to know there is something different about the production at festivals. Like
Mhm.
I will listen to wonkier bass just because it sounds different. So like when it comes to music, especially at festivals, it's just different. Like there's
It is.
I won't listen to wonky bass on my own, but I will happily watch a set of wonky bass at at a festival because a lot of times the visuals they're for a reason. So so you started raving pre-COVID. What are some
Yes.
things that have changed about the scene that you wish you could change back? Because I started raving in 2017. So
Mm, I mean, I think it's just like the general etiquette. Like, I don't understand
yes,
because I think this is like,
100%
I
the
think that,
etiquette.
yeah, it's like, I just think the etiquette thing should apply like generally across the board with concerts. Like, it's the same thing. Like, don't shove into people, be
Yeah, I definitely
courteous,
feel like the
you
courtesy
know?
was different. Like people this is another reason why I want to make this podcast too, is that I want people to know how to interact with people at festivals. Like I'm gonna have a whole
Yeah.
episode on that. Um, so I definitely think etiquette is the biggest difference I've noticed personally. Your favorite and least favorite part about being content creator? What's your favorite?
I mean, like the interactions I get with people on every time I'm able to go to a show, like that has been insane. Like I just love meeting people and like
I do
being able
too.
to get to hear their perspective and just like I just love connection and
I
I
love the
love
community. No,
community.
the community
Yeah,
is
it's
literally
community,
the
man.
reason I'm on Rave TikTok. 100%. I'm very grateful to be a part of Rave TikTok. So what's your least favorite part?
Oh, it's so funny because like okay, it's like my favorite part's meeting people, but also my least favorite part is meeting people because I'm autistic and it's just like sometimes I just like don't know what to say and I'm just like, "Oh, hi," like trade candy and then like I feel like people want to chat more or something and I'm like, truly I like
I
don't know how
oh,
to
are
continue the
there social
conversation
cues for that?
and
Because I wouldn't know. Because there are
I
people come up to me and I feel like maybe they were giving me social cues that they wanted to talk more, but I'm also autistic. So like I feel like I did not get them.
just I have a
I'm
hard
very
time.
no, I feel that
And then
that's probably
also
one of mine.
yeah, and then when favors are involved, like, oh my God, that's like a whole nother story. Like, it
Oh,
depends
I
what
feel
one,
that
but
so
like,
hard.
I particularly always feel like I get done so dirty whenever I do shrooms. people try to come up and talk to me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, hi, like I can't even get the words out of my mouth right now, but like here's a candy, like I don't know what to do.
So I'm not even gonna lie. One of the main reasons I have stayed 100% sober at the last two festivals, not the main reasons, a side reason, I like to be sober, but is because I'm terrified of someone coming up to me when I am on something. So for base Canyon this year, I want to put on disguise so I can possibly roll. And my hair is my hair makes it hard to hide, okay? And I especially if it's UV reactive. So I'm like, maybe I could put on a wig or something because I want to be able to maybe like take a favor and not worry that someone's
Yeah.
gonna be like, "Oh, Neon Night Storm." What? Like not now. Not now.
Better time for this.
Yeah. So that actually goes to the other question about do you generally then like people coming up to you though? So for
I
anyone
like
watching,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I love people coming up to me. I mean, I share all of these different things that I make on TikTok. So it's like, I want to be able to give them to people. I have perlers and different trinkets and little done cards on my Cricut and stickers. Like, I want to be able to share that. Like,
So
there's
wait,
a
for us
reason I made them.
personally, for you and me, so for base canyon, do you want a perler or do you want a cuff? Because I'm making mood candy a cuff because like I'm gonna be meeting them. Do you want a perler or I'm not very good at perlers, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try really hard if you want one.
I I have no preference at all whatsoever,
I need to get
honestly.
more into making candy. I finally just learned how to make a cuff. I need to learn how to make perlers though. Like I know how to put them together. It's the ironing part that always gets me every time.
Insomniac has a really good they have a blog and they have a tutorial for candy that's like written out with pictures, and that is what got me to make my first cuff, and that has helped me so much.
You know what? I might have to do that. Well, like mood
Yeah.
candy tutorials really is what I was able to learn cuffs because of
Yes.
their tutorials. But with perlers, it's always been a little bit different. Now we're gonna get into the I guess I could do kind of like a trigger warning, I guess. If you are not wanting to talk about or not wanting to listen about different drug combinations and all that stuff, then this is not the podcast for you. But I'm here for everyone else who, if you're going to be taking cocaine, ketamine, if you're going to be doing hard drugs, hard party favors like that, this is how to protect yourself. Because obviously, you know, you're you're an adult, you're going to do what you want to do. But here's how to help yourself the best to make sure you stay safe and you don't combine something that could potentially end your life. So, let's just start with this. The first question is, what is your education in drug combinations?
My education in drug combinations. So, I mean, ever since I was young, I've been around, people who have been taking drugs my whole life, people who have been addicted to drugs my whole life, being in a community that was ravaged by drugs. So that was like my whole
William.
introduction to it. I myself have had friends who started taking shrooms and cocaine as early as age 9.
Oh
So
my
it's
gosh,
like,
I have not had that. That's
yeah.
wow.
So
Wow.
it's like when you've been around people who've been doing it for that long, you learn how harmful and how dangerous it can be. And
You learn to educate yourself.
yeah, you learn to educate
Yeah.
yourself with whatever resources you have available for you. And so I did that for a long time. And then I got into my undergrad at Washington State University, and then I had got my degree in psychology. One of the classes that we had to take it was called the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of drug interactions
That's really cool.
and drugs in general. And so essentially the whole class was broken down. It's like each week you learn about a new drug, and you would learn about the different parts in your brain in which it would work in terms of like neurotransmitters and stuff.
That's
And then
insane.
and then you would also
Wow.
learn about how it would function within your body. So it's like, yes, it does this in your brain, and then this is the physical result in your body, such as like an increased heart rate,
That's really cool.
sweating, increased or dilated pupils, things like that. And so you really got to learn the ins and outs of every single drug, especially the ones that people like to
Cool.
partake in our community today.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's
I'm
like
really like I didn't
that.
even know that's because I know you had told me before that you had a class, or I think I saw on your TikTok video that you had taken a class in it, and I was like, "Ooh, they'd be really good with that." So,
Yeah.
so going on the drugs that people take at events specifically, what would you consider the most deadly drug combinations? Like if you are at an event, this is what you should not combine because it will be fatal.
Generally, it's like any uppers or downers. It's like, here's my concern though, is that most people don't believe that they're taking these deathly drug interactions because they're
Mm,
not appropriately testing their stuff. So they might be taking what they think is Molly, but it might actually be Molly, heroin, and caffeine.
yeah.
And then they're thinking, oh, well, I can do cocaine. Well, you're not supposed to do cocaine and heroin together. That's an extreme
Oh
upper
wow.
and downer.
I
And
didn't
so it's
I
like
didn't know that.
it's it's things like that where it's like, I don't think people are purposefully taking these drug interactions. I think that they're just not being appropriate with how they're testing their stuff. But to
Well,
loop
going
back
on with
to
that,
like,
oh yeah, I was like going on with the testing stuff then actually, what is the best way to get a test kit? Like what would you say to anyone watching? What is the best way to get a test kit?
order one online. If you can afford to be taking drugs, you can afford a test kit online.
Facts.
If you can afford to be going to these festivals, buying these different outfits,
Insomniac has test kits,
spending
don't they?
$20 on chicken strips, then you can spend the 50 to $150 on a good test kit. Like
And
that's
you can
just the
use it more
facts.
than once, right?
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah, I was
God.
like,
Yeah.
I
Like
feel like that's a
you,
lot of people don't. Well, I'm saying that because I don't know if a lot of people know this. I know I didn't actually for a while. You can reuse test kits. Like it's not just a one-time thing. Like you use it once and then you have to get it every single time. Like you can
yeah.
reuse it. So I think
100% because it's like it says like on the descriptions for most of them. I think you got to be careful with how you're dosing out the liquid and
yeah,
everything because sometimes you might accidentally squirt a little bit more than you should,
yeah.
and then it's like, oh shit, I need to retest it. So then you end up using more liquid. Um, and so when it comes like I would say like I easily could get like 30 to 60 uses out of a test kit. Sometimes I just
Which
that's
should still
how
last a long time. That's just like if
yeah,
you
I
shouldn't be
mean
partaking. If we're gonna be partaking, by the way, you shouldn't be partaking more than 30 to
that
60 times
much.
a year. So when
Yeah.
you say that, I'm like, this should last a couple years. When you say that,
Um,
I haven't had a test kit because I personally do not partake. The only thing I partake in is smoking weed. So like I get it from my friend who grows it. So like, it's
like there's likelihood of that being cut is like very,
yeah,
very
literally.
minimal.
But
I
I
want
do
to loop.
know. Hmm?
Oh, I was gonna say I wanted to loop back around to what you had asked about the deathly drug
Yeah,
interactions.
yeah, please.
I think a really good rule of thumb is don't mix uppers with downers, don't mix downers with another downer and another upper with another upper, because those are all gonna mask the effects of each other essentially. And also another thing that I wanted to particularly talk about was alcohol and cocaine together, which I feel like is such a
Or
common,
alcohol and
such
ketamine. Alcohol and
lit,
ketamine, those who want to make jokes
yeah,
about it. I'm looking
lit,
at you. I'm looking in the
yeah.
camera right now. I'm looking at you. It's not funny. It is
It's
not
not
funny. It's
funny.
fucking deadly.
Yeah,
Anyways.
and
Sorry, I was like, I got
it's
beat with that one.
it's hard, man. It's such a hard subject to talk about. You can't help but like laugh and like make a joke about it because it's
No,
just like
because it's what else are you supposed to do? People are they're making
yeah,
these stupid little videos about that. It's like funny. No,
yeah,
you will die. You will die. So
exactly. And it's
I
like
that's why, and we all know that's why I'm making this. This is the reason we
yeah,
started making this podcast because I'm like, who's telling them? Someone's got to tell them. So yeah, I actually didn't know that about all uppers and downers that you just shouldn't mix them. I think I'm just basically uneducated myself. I'm trying to educate myself a lot more, especially the last 6 months. I've done a lot more research, but because I myself didn't really partake and I drifted from the people who did that kind of stuff, I kind of just stopped educating myself, which I shouldn't have done that. I feel like whether or not you do it, you should be educating yourself because a lot of people at events do. So, on more on, did you want to talk any more about deadly drug combinations? By the way, are there any other ones you want to talk about before you move on?
more particular or what was it? It was I wanted to talk about Coke and
Yeah.
alcohol together because I feel like most people don't understand that when you take Coke and you take alcohol together, it creates a whole other substance in your body called cocaethylene. And that impacts you differently than what Coke alone does and what
Oh my gosh.
alcohol alone does. And so you need to be aware when you're taking these things together and that it's going to have a different impact on your body than when you take these things separately. So it's just, my recommendation is do not mix at all. I know it's fun. I know it's tempting. I know experience better, but in the overall terms of safety, I think you have to evaluate it of risk versus reward. And is the fun really that, is it worth it? Is it really worth your life? Is it worth
Yeah.
causing your Rave fam the pain? Is it worth causing a call to your mom to say, hey, your child died at this music
Yeah.
festival? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
that that's an appropriate, I don't know, man. Like, you
No,
may weigh your options differently, but like, I just don't think you should do it.
I know it's also really common too for people to mix that. So I'm glad you did talk about
Yeah.
it. I always forget, to be completely honest, that when you mix cocaine and alcohol, that it makes that, like, I forget the name of it. And I'm gonna butcher it if
Yeah.
I try to say it, but
The
I
cocaethylene.
yeah. How can you, so let's say you are gonna be taking cocaine, ketamine, or Molly. These are like the harder drugs that are in the rave scene. If you are going to be taking these, what should you do beforehand?
I think generally the good course of action to take is make sure that you're taking care of your body all the time. I think a lot of people will often spend like a week or two prior to the festival being like, okay, I'm going to drink all this water. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do all of this to prepare my body. But if you're not doing that all the time, then your body's never truly going to be fully prepared when you
Yeah.
go out and you go rage for 3, 4 days at a time.
Yeah. That's true. How can you listen to your body to know when you should stop or you should take more? So if you're doing these, and I know it's for a lot of people, especially with Molly, they think, oh, well, I should just do another point. Oh, I should just do another line. How can you help yourself so you know when is too much?
I think it's just, I think practicing mindfulness in your everyday life is a truly beneficial skill when it comes to different things like this.
That's
Because
true.
if you can't read your body in normal life, if you can't feel like, hey, I think I'm not feeling well right now, or like, hey, my chest is a little tight, or like, oh man, like if you're not good at reading your body signals in the day-to-day life, that's not going to transfer over
That's a
well
good point. No, that's a
to
good
when
point.
you're doing substances and you're at a festival and you have all of these other variables that are distracting you from being able to read internally.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah. And so I think you have to, it all starts outside of the rave. I think all of this
That's
preparation,
actually a really good point.
I think any good rule of thumb for taking any kind of favor generally is like, do your research, like look
Facts.
up like what is an appropriate amount to take, like is think about the different variables that are going to impact you in that situation. Have you eaten? Have you had water today? Did you get a good night's rest? You
Yeah.
know, if you're
Getting
not
rest at the
thinking,
festival too, okay? It is not,
yeah,
I know it seems so cool to like party all day, all night for 3 days straight, but your body will not be happy. You are destroying
no,
your body doing that, and your body needs rest, especially if you're doing these harder drugs. And I know you can't necessarily feel it, but at the same time, your body feels it. You can't because you're on drugs.
I
So
think
respect your body. Get some sleep, y'all. I'm telling you, you'll appreciate it. Also, I don't know about
if
you, but
you
do you take naps? Do you take naps during the festival? Because I take naps.
I can't take naps, unfortunately, during the festival.
Really?
I think it, yeah,
I'll just lay down and I'll hear
I
the
would
bass.
love it. I'll sit down. I feel like fuck, dude. I mainly sit for like mainly every fucking event. So it's like, I feel
Really?
like I rarely, yeah, I feel like I rarely get
I'm up
tired
the whole
anyway.
time. I've
Oh my
stand
God.
mo I've gotten better at festivals. Unfortunately, I've not gotten very well at like one day events on resting, on sitting down. I'm not very good at that myself. So I've gotten better at festivals, but like I found that taking like 15-minute naps, meaning like I close my eyes and truly rest on the
Mhm.
ground for 15 minutes, it's rejuvenating.
It is
Rejuvenating. And I
rejuvenating.
do it 2 or 3 times. So if you like, I'm telling y'all, don't take care of your body at festivals. You will
Mhm.
appreciate it. You really will. All
I
right.
feel like a
So,
good,
oh, here.
I was gonna say, I feel like a
Okay.
good tip if you don't feel like you can hold yourself accountable to taking those breaks or like regulating and like reading internally, what you can go ahead and do, go ahead and set a timer on your watch or your phone for like
Ooh,
whatever interval of time. Maybe you want to set it for every 2 hours, hour and a half, but set it and then have it be your reevaluation time and be like, okay, how do I feel? How is my body feeling? Is my heart feel okay? Do I feel like I can take a good full breath? Do I need water? Do I need to go to the bathroom? Do I feel like I need food at this time? Do I feel like I need to sit down? So that way you kind of just have a built-in system to kind of check yourself and be like, okay, hey, it's the time that I need to reevaluate and do these
Yeah.
things.
Like if you,
Yeah.
I guess for people who maybe do struggle with the mindfulness outside of events, I think it's really important if you are going to festivals that you practice more mindfulness. Like even if you are not the
Mhm.
best at practicing it in your day-to-day life, which feel you, feel you,
Yeah,
you
it's
have
a
to
hard
be
skill.
like I, as someone who's had an eating disorder, I understand the mindfulness, listening to your body, it can be hard, but if you're at a festival, you really need to be listening to your body even more, especially if you're partaking in drugs. Like, especially if you're doing stuff like ketamine and Molly. Like Molly, it literally strips you of all your serotonin. The
Yeah.
one time you take it. So let's say you're taking it 2 or 3 days in a row, take care of your body. Um,
Yeah.
so speaking of that kind of stuff, if you are already struggling with mental health issues like bipolar, BPD, depression, why are you at a higher risk for any drugs you partake in? For example, higher risk for permanent brain damage, psychosis, seeing spots, never-ending visuals. And that's with like cocaine, ketamine. This is also with
Yeah.
acid and shrooms, Molly. This is with every drug, by the way. If you have any of these mental
Mhm.
health issues, like you are at higher risk.
Yeah. I mean, it has to do with the neurotransmitters in your brain, you know? It's
That's what
like
I
the
figured you'd have
chemical.
the actual
Yeah.
answer for this, by the way. I was like,
Um
I feel like they'd have the actual, like, answer on why this does this.
I mean, the chemicals in your brain when you're dealing with these certain disorders and things, they're already out of whack. Adding another variable into the situation is not going to make it more in whack, especially if it's not taken with intention or dosage or different things like that.
Yes, dosage
Because
is
it's like,
important.
yeah, because it's like, ketamine, it's like it could be a very beautiful thing for some people when it's correctly administered
Yeah,
in a
people do cocaine
professional.
or ketamine injections from what I'm aware.
Yeah, and
People use it.
infusions and like full on treatments.
Perfusions,
And
that's
it's
the word.
like,
There you go.
yeah, it's like they get these awesome benefits from it, but it's like when you're just railing it in the middle of a field at a festival and just doing line after line of it, it's,
Yeah.
and you already
Or
have
spoon
these
after spoon
mental
of it.
issues.
I know that's more the
Yeah,
status quo is having the little spoons that are all cute and decorative and losing count of how many you're doing. And then
yeah.
that's the spoon.
Like
I'm
that
not gonna lie, the spoon thing kind of scares me. Like when those started getting more like,
cutesy to have.
yeah, like I don't, maybe that's just
Yeah.
me, but personally, I feel like, I don't know, it's just not my thing. But they are really cute. So that's actually, I guess that makes sense about the neurotransmitters in your brain. Like I've always wondered that because that's probably a reason I've stayed away from it because
Mhm.
I've had my fair share of issues with all that stuff. So whenever I even took Molly, I noticed that, like personally, when I wake up the next morning, the first thing I think about was how to yeet myself from this universe. So, like,
Yeah.
literally the
Like
first
you
thought.
don't feel great.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else. I mean, I know a lot of people who struggle with this, but personally, that's why I don't do Molly anymore. It's just I have to prepare myself so much mentally for the fact the next morning when I wake up, the first thing that I'm gonna think about is I want to die.
Yeah.
Even if like I don't want to. Like, no, it's so crazy. That's what has kept me from taking it even after finding like a lot of peace in myself. This last year, I'm like, do I really want to roll a base canyon? But like at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel like I'm in a good place. So being able to prepare myself for it, it'd be different.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, dosage. So is there a recommended dose for these kind of hard drugs? So like cocaine, let's start with ketamine. Is there like a recommended dose?
See, I don't partake in those drugs, so
Right?
I don't know the appropriate dosage for drugs like that, but like there goes back to my recommendation to where you should be
The
researching
mindfulness
these things
too.
ahead of time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also true. I don't know. I feel like I don't think there is a recommended dose. When I made this question,
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't really have an answer for it, and I figured you wouldn't either. But I think it's important to talk about because you should not just be going to get fucked like no, I don't want to say going to get fucked up, but like your intention taking these drugs shouldn't be I just want to get as fucked up as
Yeah.
possible. Because that's especially at raves and festivals because the visuals are so amazing. You can really get into like
Yeah.
the nature and world when you're at festivals, especially. So if you're just taking it to get fucked up, you're not gonna have the experience that you're wanting.
I
Um,
think yeah, it's a beautiful thing to experience raves. sober. And I think like
Oh
I
yeah.
kind of
Oh,
reached
I love it.
yeah.
I love just smoking my silly little weed, and like maybe that's not going sober, I guess. California sober, okay?
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I have too much sensory issues to even trip at festivals. I can't even imagine doing a trip at a festival nowadays. Like, so I feel like you'll have the answer to this. What's the difference between taking capsuled MDMA compared to taking like an ecstasy pill?
Oh, I have so much to say on this.
I figured, so that's
I
why
have like
I don't worry, there's
God,
a couple of questions in here about it because people think that
there's
they're the same thing. They are
no,
not. Capsule
they're not the same.
MDMA and an ecstasy tablet, nope, not the same thing. Or
They're not the same thing.
like people will say it's like just a tablet that has MDMA tablet or whatever, and I'm like, no, not the same thing. They are not the same thing.
No. I personally, I have taken one once and then I learned everything about it. There's a really, really good Vice documentary on this. And I like when you're getting a little shaped, fun little pill, like, yes, there is MDMA in that pill. However, you have no idea what the filler contains. And additionally, it is so much infinitely harder to test a pill of ecstasy than it is to test a capsule of MDMA. Additionally, you are actually able to manage the dosing when you take a capsule of MDMA versus a
True.
tablet of ecstasy because you can actually scoop out the little amount that you want and say, okay, I'm going to start with this amount now. However, if you like try and split up a ecstasy tablet into 4 pieces or something like that, you have no idea if
Yeah,
that MDMA is evenly split within that
that's
ecstasy
true. Yeah, I
pill
didn't even think about
to
that.
say, yeah, to say that, oh, I'm taking a quarter of a point. You have no
Yeah,
idea if you're
that's
taking
a
a
good
quarter of a
point.
point. Yeah. And
That's a
so,
good point.
like, infinitely, I will always lean towards MDMA over ecstasy. I just cannot find the justification on top of, you have like these, it's almost like a pop culture thing, like with the orange Teslas and like the different varieties of names that they have for them. And
Yeah.
this one's better than that because then those get popularized.
And then who even
And
started
then,
that? How do we even know that's like
yeah,
reliable information?
exactly. And then it's like you have all these other people who want to make counterfeit versions of those as well because they know that those are common and popular ones and that they sell well. And so then it leads to a whole line of problems in my opinion. I feel like I it feels much more straight up when I'm getting a capsule of MDMA versus a tablet of ecstasy. I just feel like it's like wrapped in lies and it just
No,
wants to
literally,
hurt me.
so
Yeah.
personally, I've taken one ecstasy tablet, and I
Mhm.
remember taking it and being told it was like 3 points, right? And like
You
two
yeah,
hours
you don't know the dosing at
2 hours
all with
later, I'm
those.
like, are you sure it was a single point? Because like
Oh
I'm
my
sitting there
God.
on my bed, all I feel is my body shaking, and I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I trust my friend?
You honestly might like see those ones, it's like so common to just get full filler. Like sometimes
So
people just
what?
get straight
Yeah.
caffeine. Oh my God.
So what I in my area at least, what happens a lot, and this may be in your area or in whoever's area, but what happens a lot, unfortunately, when it comes to even and even capsule Molly, if you don't test it, you are getting meth.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
personally like someone once told me that, and I think to a lot of times when I didn't test my stuff because my friends were like, "Oh, I had like my friend told me they tested this." And so
Mhm.
I'd be sitting at the rave and every part of my body is shaking, and then I get home and so for I don't know if I'm guessing you know this, but you know about strip 9. That's what makes your body hella
Yeah.
shake. If you are
Yeah.
feeling if your legs are not like won't stop shaking, your shit was not clean. It's got strip 9. My friend told me that, and I think about the fact that one of the reasons I also don't take Molly nowadays is it's so hard to test. Like it's not hard to test, but I don't know.
It's like a risk versus reward thing. The
Yeah,
risk is not worth the reward.
I just can't get myself to. Now, however, the last time, or actually not the last time, but the second to last time that I took Molly was like a couple years ago, actually. And the only reason I did is because this friend I had at the time literally pulled up to my house or my apartment at the time and had like genuine like rock Molly. Just put it on my table and was like, "Here, I'm gonna break this off in little capsules for you guys." And I was like, well, I know it's clean. So, because it was literally just the rock, but it's very hard to test like anything that other than a capsule because it's too hard. So if you are going to be getting Molly, make sure it's in a capsule and make sure you test it because you never know what else could be mixed with it. Even if your friends say, someone else tested, don't trust that person. You test it.
I
Um,
would still be cautious as well, even if you see someone cutting it from a rock to still
really?
test it. I would
Please
say
educate me. This was 2 years ago and I haven't, so please educate me. Like, this is why we're here. So for anybody else who maybe was in the same mindset and thinks that, like, what could that be cut with then?
I mean, so in terms of visually, so do you know anything about sass or sassafras?
Kind of. But other people watching may not, so we should probably touch on
So
it.
So this is also, I think most of the time, so I have this is like a whole theory I have in terms of people taking drugs. Okay, so Sass and Molly is MDMA,
Mhm.
Sass is MDA. So
Okay. Okay. So
it
I've
is,
heard of it.
yeah, it's very comparable. Essentially, I feel like it's a little, Sass is definitely more empathetic, and I definitely think that there's more like visual distortions tied to Sass than there is to Molly. I personally think that most of the time that people take Sass, and I think that maybe every once in a while they might actually get Molly. And then but they take Sass thinking that it's Molly. And then when they actually get Molly for the first time, they say, oh my God, I don't think that that just felt different. I don't know. And they think that Molly was actually something different, but the sass was. Do you understand what I'm saying
No,
in
I
terms
do.
of that?
Honestly,
Yeah.
with
And
people, with how little people have been testing their stuff, I feel like
yes,
lately, 100%. Like I feel like people really do not take it seriously on testing your stuff
no,
because
no, they don't at all.
like
It's
I know and
crazy to
like
me.
I can understand in a sense because like I'm not gonna get a test kit because I don't partake. Like why would I spend money on a test kit when I don't partake? But if you are going to partake, you said it well, you have spend the extra money. Like if you are going to be
Yeah.
partaking, spend the extra money. Like I don't know how else to say that. Like I wish that people
It's a small expense for your life, man. Like
yeah, no, literally, like
$120.
I feel like sometimes people. So what I think, this is my kind of theory on it. So in the rave scene, a lot of people have already done it. They're like, oh, I did it once and they were fine. So they're like, oh, if my friend did it and they were fine, then I'm gonna be fine. But it's like you may not be
That's a
just because your
dangerous
friend.
mentality.
And I've had a lot of people say it to me. I have had a lot of people be like, oh, my friend did this, or this person did this, or I did it before, and I'm like, but and it's just
Then you say, oh, I
you're
did this
messing with
for
your life. And I
you're
just
fine.
like I don't know if you've heard that a lot, but one of the main things I've heard when I like tried to be like, you need to test your stuff. You need to test from this person. Well, I've gotten their stuff before and it was completely fine. Are you sure though? Like, are you sure? Like that's
Like
I do not trust even okay, I know people like want to trust their dealers, but don't trust your dealers. Test
shit
your
doesn't come
stuff.
from the different like a different batch or from different suppliers. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know. Like, that's such an irresponsible ideology to hold.
and that's why like anybody maybe who's watching this and kind of has that similar ideology of like, well, I did it before. You may have worked, you're good getting older. Things are, I don't know. I just don't understand that mentality personally, but a lot of people have it and I've heard it a lot. Um, so this is kind of a fun question. Kind of like it's not really with this, but it kind of is. So what are the limits on when you should be driving home from events? This goes for alcohol all the way to drugs.
Shouldn't
There you go.
all. I'm like,
Ha!
you walk your ass home or you sleep in your car. Like, I cannot tell you how
Facts.
many times I have yelled at people about that. I have been angry about that. Like, in any capacity, in any way, shape, or form, you should not be driving your car home if you're messed up, or even if you're slightly messed up. Like, I don't care the level of inebriation. If you've had stuff in your system and it hasn't been longer than a couple hours, no.
Yeah.
Like, I just,
So do
yeah,
you think if
I don't.
like so this is a good point to make off that. So I can kind of use my past self when I used to drive. So when I first started raving like 5 years ago, right? I would take like my couple points beginning of the rave and then 5 hours later I would drive home. Is that like do you and I was sober, like I felt sober at that point. Do you think that like people should be waiting longer or do you think that because a lot I feel like people in the comments or people watching maybe thinking that like, oh, I wait like 5 hours or 4 hours. Do you think that that's okay or do you think that they should still find a different way home or should like have somewhere to stay that night?
I mean, it's like, when's the last point? Like, at what point in the night are you feeling the last effects of it, I guess?
I think for me at that, like I would always wait because I wanted to make sure I didn't get an accident on the way home. I would always wait 4 hours. Like in my that's when I did it like 3 years ago. I would always wait like 4 hours if, and I would tell my friends driving too if like they were taking stuff, I wouldn't allow them to drive me home unless they waited 4 hours. So like, do you think that's a good time frame, or do you think it should be more?
After you've taken the point?
After you, so like after you take it, let's say you've taken 2 or 3 points, right? Like that's what my friends would do. They would take 2 or 3 points, but the last point they took, they would wait like 3, 4 hours. Do you think that like they should have stayed home?
Like before driving? Like
Yeah.
3 to 4 hours before driving?
Yeah.
You should not be driving at that
So
point.
that's why
Because
I
it's
wanted
like,
to
if
clarify
you're,
that.
yeah, it's like, because if you're taking that point 3 to 4, like, we'll go with 4 hours on that
Yeah.
latter end. So 4 hours takes an hour to start feeling your point. So
True.
then that leaves you with 3 hours, then like another 30 minutes to another hour to hit your peak. Now you're at two
Yes.
hours. I don't think
That's a good
2
point. I
hours.
didn't I mean, at the time I was a lot younger. I feel like I've aged a lot mentally over the last couple years. So this kind of stuff, like when I even talk about it now, I'm like, you know what, Kelly, that probably wasn't a good idea. So, and
It's
that's
good to
okay.
reflect on those decisions
I
and
know I'm gonna be doing
realize,
that a lot in this podcast, is to be like, I'm okay talking about the stupid shit that I did 2, 3 years ago because I wasn't
yeah,
educated. I was around friends who normalized that. They were like,
yeah.
oh, like they would drive home tripping and they'd be, and I would just, let's just say I've driven home a
So
couple times.
scary.
I have driven home a couple times with friends who were still tripping, and I didn't have any other way home. So it was like, yeah, and I was a couple hours away from home. So it was like either drive the couple hours home with them or not have anywhere to go. So I don't know. I even looking back now, I'm like, man, what can you do? um,
Yeah.
get better
I
friends.
do.
That's what you
I was
do.
gonna say, I was like, moving forward for other people, it's like, definitely,
Get
this
better.
is low key, I think, kind of a harsher opinion that I may have, but I think if you are getting in the car with someone who's messed up and you're driving with them, I think you're equally as responsible as the
Oh,
driver
100%.
for, yeah, for any and anything that could potentially happen. Like,
No,
you
I
are
I was.
enabling them and making, like, not even just you, just everyone in general, because I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
so many people will justify, well, I'm not driving drunk, they are. Well, you're getting in the car with them and making
Yeah,
them think that this is an acceptable thing to do instead of
literally.
yelling at them. And
Yeah.
like,
And back at the
that's,
time, I was a people pleaser. So like 2, 3 years ago, I was a people pleaser to a T. So like I could not say no to my friends. I couldn't do it. I literally was unable to do that. And it's taken quite amount of self-work to get to a
it's
different point.
hard.
But I know there are a lot of people out there who definitely are who get in the same boat, that they have their friends who
Yeah.
are inebriated and they don't know what to do. Find another way home. Or like
Yeah.
just you have like the amount of things that can go wrong on the road when someone is inebriated is just too many. Like it is disheartening for me, especially nowadays. Like I can kind of compartmentalize the 4 hours, like kind of. I can
Yeah.
kind of compartmentalize it. But I have had a couple people who like, oh yeah, I took like my last point like 45 minutes ago and I like just peaked. I'm fine now though. And I'm like, you just peaked? And
I'm like, what do you
what?
mean? What did he
But I
say?
peaked
Like,
like 10
oh,
minutes ago. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly. All right. So now we're gonna transfer over to speaking about all of this stuff and being careful and um just taking care of your friends, finding better friends, all of that. We're gonna switch over to what happened to you at Base Canyon last year.
I'm
So
like, "Yeah, okay, I'm
yeah,
ready."
so can you I just gonna say like this. Can you explain like what happened?
So we, wake up. It's the last day of Base Canyon. It's our friend's birthday. Man, I forgot what name I like had given him in our
Call
like
him
story time.
you can call him Brian if that's a good maybe it was Brian. I don't
Oh
know.
God, that would confuse me even more because Brian was involved in this. Okay,
Oh,
so
I
he's
forget. I always forget that you're
we'll
no
just call him
wonder.
B-Day Boy because it was
Okay,
his
that's
birthday.
fine.
He was B-Day Boy. So it was B-Day Boy's birthday. We wake up, everyone's cheery. There's a few people kind of sleeping, still knocked from the previous couple days. but one of our friends was like, "Hey, like let's start drinking, happy birthday to this birthday man." And starts going shot for shot with him at like 9 a.m. on the
9
third day of
a.m.
base. Yeah, like nine. Oh my God. I was like, this is way too early for this kind of behavior, but
You said
it's
like
like I'm not,
multiple shots, right?
yeah, multiple
Multiple.
shots. And it's
Oh
like,
my gosh, at
it's
9
like on
a.m.
day at 9 a.m. And it's like, okay, well, we're going on day 3 of this festival. It's been 100 degrees every single day.
It
It's
was
also
hot
100.
last year. It was so hot last year.
Yeah. Like it was
I
100
oh
degrees then, so it's like we're also already so exhausted from the previous 2 days
and there
before.
wasn't a lot of
Let al-
shade. There was not a lot of
no,
shade. So
let
it was
alone
hard.
we also did the pre-party, so it was like really our 4th day of like 12-hour raving, and you're gonna start off your day with fucking shots of tequila. Like that sounds horrible. And so then
Facts.
he
And you
yeah,
said
it's like,
tequila?
yeah.
Maybe I can understand some like clear Tito's or something, but
God. Oh
tequila?
no. I take it back actually. It was Tito's, because this leads into a
Sorry,
whole
that's
other
so
part of the story.
sorry. I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but I was like, I can maybe understand some Tito. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, you're like, I see where they were coming from now. Can't say no to
Okay, but
Tito's.
multiple, like I can understand maybe like for fun being like, oh, it's
Like
9
a
a.m. It's your
B-Day
yeah,
shot.
like no, I
Like
can totally get under that. Like I feel like if that was my group, I probably would have done that. I'm like, you know what, 9 a.m. That's fine. It's for your
before he
birthday.
even had breakfast. It was like we
Okay,
literally were
well,
drinking while we were making him his breakfast burrito.
oh,
And
he
then
could have at least
so
waited.
I he starts, so he drank a little, had the breakfast burrito, continued drinking, ended up getting, I don't even feel like he had a lot. Like he's just a very tiny guy in general. And so like, it doesn't take a lot for some people, especially when you're like
Yeah.
already so depleted of all your other
Because think about
necessities.
it, by day 3, so I have a Fitbit that I wear every day. So at a festival, I truly get an idea of how much you're moving around every day. So for
Yeah.
me, I don't know about your friend how much they're walking around, but
Oh,
I'm
hella.
there. So they're probably like me then, and they were getting 30,000 steps at
Yeah.
least at Base Canyon. So along
Especially at the gorge with the
and
fucking
then on top of the
trail they make
fact,
you walk on.
yeah, on top of the fact that you're already walking 30,000 steps, by the way, at Base Canyon with the gorge, the hill is like
Yeah.
oh, it's
They're
so
climbing up that
yeah.
bitch.
So
It is
so to kind
brutal.
of put into perspective, no, to kind of put in perspective for anybody who kind of is just like that doesn't seem like a lot. It is on day 3. So so you have like day 1 and day 2 where you're walking 60,000 steps together, right? And I don't know if people know this, but that's like almost 4,500 calories burned, which is double what you should be eating in a day. Like the normal calorie intake is 2,000 calories, right? So that's you're burning off double. Like, oh, I can't that makes so much that makes all this make so much more sense too. Because
Yeah.
by day 3, like I know by day 3 for even me, like I know that I feel like I'm very depleted. It's
Hard.
everyone it has gone to festival. Y'all know what day 3 is. It's that like you're happy it's the last day, but you're also sad it's the last day.
But it's just a hard day. It's just a
Yeah,
hard day in
yeah,
general. And then so he ended up passing out, and then he woke up because like we kind of thought he passed out just out of like being tired, because there were a couple other people sleeping on the ground as well, because it's just
yeah.
like day 3 vibes, everyone's just
No,
sprawled
literally,
out
everyone takes
trying to
naps
survive.
under the canopy. Like that was my
No,
group on day
yeah.
3. We were all taking naps under the canopy because the tents were too hot.
Yeah. So, a few other people were passed out, but then he had woken up, and then he threw up, and then he passed out again, and like just like laid with his vomit like right there. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
and I asked him like, are we concerned about this? Like what is our game plan right now to address this?
Yeah.
I kind of asked. And we were in a larger group, like in that general area. It's like
How
we
large
had, I
was your
think,
group
like
again? I remember it was like really big, but
our group
yeah.
overall, I want to say, was like 27, but like it ended up
Holy crap.
weirdly getting like split in half when we were setting up our camps, to where there was like one half of our group that was really chill, kind of just smoked weed, like, more psychedelic based. And then the other
Yeah.
half was like very much so whippets, cocaine, like that kind of vibe. Um, and just that's just how it ended up getting split. And actually, I'm friends with a couple girls who are over on that side now, because we got like full picture of the situation. It was just not a
Yeah.
good situation for anybody.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like it was hard because by the time day 3 came around, everyone was already really tense because of the person who was the rave mom of our group, that we kind of previously talked
Yeah.
about. I don't talk to her anymore. She was really heavily dealing with a coke addiction at that time, and she was just like not able to keep her shit together. And I'll keep it at that because I do think her business is private in terms of
Yeah.
her struggle with that. But like,
I mean, we wish you the best.
yeah, it's just it generally made everything for the group infinitely fucking harder. And so then our friend had woken up, passed out. I was like, "Hey, are we gonna do anything about this?" And then their solution was to put him under the truck in the shade and to continue to let him sleep and to put a bunch of ice packs and a fan on him because they had like one of those little battery powered fans or something like that. And
I
so they put that all on him, and I was just like, I don't really think that this is an adequate solution to this problem
You
right
said they put
now.
a
And
bunch of ice packs, right?
yeah, multiple.
That's
Even though
that's
they say
okay.
on the ice pack, don't apply more than one at a time.
I was
So
like,
it's like,
I get it because like literally last night I was feeling super sick, so I put an ice pack on my back. But as far as I'm aware, like you shouldn't be putting more than one because you can
no.
dysregulate your body temperature too
And
much.
this is another thing is when you're drunk, your body can't regulate its body temperature anyways. And that's why you get really, really hot because you can't regulate. So when you do something like put a bunch of ice packs on a person who can't regulate their body temperature,
Oh
then you
no.
nearly freeze him to death. And that is essentially what ended up happening. I had looked over and I looked at him because I kept just looking over. I was like, I'm just not something doesn't feel right
Yeah.
about this situation. And everyone kept chatting, eating breakfast, doing the thing. And me and my friend Olivia were just like, nah, like this just doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't like this. And we kept trying to get him to be responsive, and he wasn't really responsive. And I looked over and I had noticed he had some labored breathing. And that's one of the signs that you should be looking out for a friend if they're going through an overdose, or just generally if something is wrong with their body, even if they're not going through an overdose or if they're going through a medical emergency, labored breathing or like that, just like very short breathing should be an indicator that something's wrong and that you should go get medical help, and that this is probably not something that you particularly should be dealing with. This should be a
Yeah. Like
professional's job
you
right
don't
now.
have the ability to help it.
No,
Yeah.
no. And so I had noticed that, and my friend Olivia, like she's in her 4th year of undergrad to become a nurse. She's literally just graduated yesterday. So go Olivia if you're watching this.
Ooh,
Um,
yes.
um, and we're like, no, like that breathing doesn't look right. And I then ended up going to the med tent with my partner because I asked him like, I'm gonna go get someone, and then we ended up coming back with some medical personnel, some guy and some girl, and they came over and they were like, "Oh yeah, like we need to get him to medical." Which also another thing, by the way, guys, you need to make sure that you're actually keeping your fire lane clear because medical needs to get through there. I know some people at Base Canyon, they like to be kind of lenient with like how far back they put their tents, but like
Yeah.
you need to be really cognizant because that
Yeah.
could quite literally be the difference between life and death for some
Facts.
people.
I didn't even know that
So,
was an issue, so I'm glad you said something 'cause I didn't even know that was a problem.
bruh, oh my God, it was so irritating because we were like trying to get through in people's tents. It's like, he's having to slow down so much because there's only so much space to get through. And then he doesn't want to hit a car or someone's tent, obviously. So it's like just being mindful of those things, please, because oh my gosh. So, and I didn't even realize or fully grasp how bad the situation was until we got to the medical tent and they started covering him up, and they started asking me a bunch of questions like, "Are you sure he didn't take anything else?" Like this is indicative of something like way worse. Like he was, if we had not gotten him there, like if we had waited like 5, 10, 15 minutes, anything like that, he would have been airlifted because his internal body temperature was like, how much was it? 82? 90. Oh no, it was 92. Okay, I was like, why am I thinking 82? His internal
That's
temp was
insane.
92 degrees, should be between 96 and 98.
Yeah, I was like,
So
that's not good.
they quite literally were freezing him to death. And so I think
That's
it just
insane.
blows my mind. And I didn't realize, I guess, like how serious the situation was until they were saying like he can't leave until his internal temperature comes up, and they like couldn't even get a temperature underneath his tongue because it wouldn't gauge because he was so cold. And yeah, just the way in which they had initially declined when I said something's wrong and I think we should go get medical. They said no, it's fine. And then that's what had
Your
led
group,
them to, yeah, that's what had led them to put him under the truck because they were like, no, he doesn't need medical. He's fine right now. We
that
can
literally
handle
gives me vibes of I don't want to deal with this, so you go lay over there so I can enjoy my rave still.
it.
Like
Literally.
that is the vibes that it gives off. Like I do not give enough of a fuck about this to deal with this, so I'm just gonna literally lay you under a truck and put ice pack. Like what the
Yeah.
fuck?
And then
That's
when I had asked them, when we were transitioning from going to our campsite into medical, I'm not very close to B-Day Boy. Like, I'm close to him. He's part of the Rave fam, but like, I'm not from the same general area as him. Like, there are other people within this group that regularly hang out with him and see him. And I had asked, hey, who's going to medical with him? Because you guys might know, I think you would probably know more information than I do. And they had all looked the other direction and said, oh, I'm not going because they didn't want to sacrifice their day three,
that
the last
oh my
day
god.
of the festival.
That is
And
so messed up.
yeah,
Like even the ones that were
yeah,
doing shots with him beforehand.
yep,
That
nope, they didn't go.
so what was the scariest moment for you when it came to this whole incident?
I think just like, again, realizing that state that he was truly
Like when you got
in,
to the
that
med tent and they told you what
when
was going on?
when they were like, we need to get like what his internal body temp was at the temp that they actually needed it to get, that if his condition wasn't going to get better, then we are going to need to air vac him. But he didn't want to be air vac because he was concerned because of other medical costs because he can't afford it right now. He can't
Yeah.
afford a freaking $5,000
Yeah.
helicopter ride out of
That's
the
insane.
gorge. Yeah,
How
and so it's like so many other things involved, and it's like, having to contact his sister as well and like update her on the whole
oh my
situation, and
god.
like trying to find his ID and communicate with everybody back at the campsite to try and like figure out some kind of information about him if he was taking any other medication or anything like that.
Yeah, which is important
Hmm,
if he's on any sort of medication, that's really
yeah,
important. So how
which
is he doing now?
additionally
How's he
he's
doing now,
doing
by the way?
he's doing great now. I We're
Still loves
still
raving and festivals. Well, I'm so glad. That makes me happy that this didn't put him off.
You can
Cause that would
actually
be
meet him because he's going to be camping with us
oh
this
hell
year.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
I won't bring it up, but that'll um so
So many
okay.
people have already brought it up to
Yeah, I
him. It's
won't. I'll
okay.
just I was like at this point, I feel like yeah, enough people have, but it'll be kind of cool to kind of meet him. So let's get to let's get to the other people in this scenario, okay? Because I'm having some problems right now with the people that are in this campsite, okay? So did any what was your response to them? Like when they were trying to be like, no, he's fine. Like, did I remember you on TikTok kind of talking about this? You were like having to like rip the fuck out of your bong because you were like so pissed at them.
There, my thing is, I honestly, like, I had already planned in my mind, like, I'm going to leave this place and I'm not going to be talking to these people ever again. But I was like trying to maintain some level of civilness. But
Yeah.
it wasn't until we were back at the campsite later that night after everything had finished and one of them had brought up, oh, thank God we had brought B-Day boy to the medical tent, and I had looked at them and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, fucking we. And I was just like sitting there with my face that I have on, like, what do you mean we? And I kind of looked at my partner like, no, they just did fucking not. And then oh, that was the other piece, was that his heart rate was really low. His heart
Oh,
rate was
really?
like 40 beats per minute.
What the
Yeah.
really?
His,
What's
yeah,
the what's the average again? I'm trying to think. What's the average?
like 80 to like 60 to 80
This is what I thought. I was
or
like, 'cause I
60 to
literally
like
looked,
100.
I literally looked at my Fitbit because mine's at like 72 right now, and I'm like, I know the average is between that, but
Yeah.
that's 40.
Yeah, because we had noticed that shallow breathing, and
Yeah.
that was because his heart rate was going that fucking fast.
Oh my
And
God.
so then another person had made a comment like, "Yeah, like that's what I told so and so that his heart rate was." And then that's the point where I had broke and I just started screaming at everyone because I was like, "If you knew that his heart rate was that low, then why the fuck didn't you say anything?
I
Well, you didn't say shit, you didn't do shit, and y'all didn't actually do shit. You didn't even want to bring him to medical. The reason why he even got to the place where he was because you guys put ice packs on him. So don't even try to
which
take
almost literally
which
killed him.
yeah. So
But
it's just like
okay.
they were just trying to take a lot of ownership of different things that had happened in the
They want to play
situation.
hero when
Like,
they literally did not do anything. That
no, and when they made the situation worse overall and continued to make it worse and continued to make jokes about it and continued to put that birthday
it's the
boy in
jokes for
harm's
me.
way.
It's the jokes for me
Oh, bro.
afterwards. Like honestly.
Yeah.
So so it's been almost a year now after at this point. I know you've seen some
Mhm.
of them since. So
Yeah.
have any of these people apologized or seen the wrong and like what happened, or do they still play victim and act innocent?
There was like I feel like there was like a short, like a 2 day period of time between after Base Canyon where like things were kind of okay. I felt like, I take that back. They had like apologized in our group chat, and then it was like 2 minutes later that they went and made we should rename this group to Cheetos and Burritos since that's what B-Day Boy almost died on. And then after that, it was like, okay, like, yep, we're done. We're done. I'm
Oh, I
fucking
remember you telling me that. I don't know if you told me or if you said it in a TikTok, but I remember hearing the burritos and Tito's thing and I was like, what the fuck?
yeah.
That is what a like glamorization of
Hmm.
a literal overdose. What?
Literally.
What the fuck? I cannot. So, is there anything anyone could have done beforehand aside from him not drinking essentially that would have made the situation better? That would have like prevented this in any way?
I mean, it's like,
Like
I
him
think it's
eating
just,
maybe beforehand. Like, as you said, he drank before he
yes.
ate the burrito. I feel like maybe that could have
Yeah.
definitely helped.
Taking care of your body first and
Yeah.
foremost when you wake up and not
Yeah.
immediately
I don't know
returning to the
who did
debauchery.
someone wait, question. Did someone like be like, "Hey, do you want to take a shot this morning?" Or did he say, "Hey, we should take a shot this morning"?
Someone initiated him.
How did I
Yeah.
already know the answer to that? I don't know who you are. Who the fuck initiates shots at 9 a.m.? Noon is also a
Just
great start
hard.
time. Like noon is also it's mimosa time,
Yeah.
you know?
It's
That's
just like
insane.
so many other things you have to care about before drinking, even if it's your birthday. Like,
Yeah, I don't
unfortunately,
that's
you
insane.
just got to realize the situation. Like, you can't, not all camping festivals are going to be suit for taking that many substances in
Yeah,
that short of a period of time.
exactly.
Base Canyon is not one of those. It's a freaking marathon. Okay. You
Yeah,
can't sprint. You
honestly.
can't. It doesn't matter.
Honestly, just with how the layout of the gorges, you have to be taking care of your body. Like I know that a lot of festivals you have to walk a lot. Like that's just most festivals,
Yeah.
like EDC, Electric Forest. But when it comes to Base Canyon, the hills are really something else. You are exerting your body so much more. Like I see a lot of girls who wear platforms and stuff. So it's
Whew,
like if you I will never wear anything
my
more.
heart goes out to them.
No, literally, I will never wear anything more than 4 inches at Base Canyon. Even then, 3 inches is still like, I can't get myself to do anything higher than that. Just in the last 2 years I've been, I'm like,
Hard.
I can't. I don't know. So if you're doing that kind of stuff and you're like doing drugs and stuff, you gotta be careful because you're really exerting your body, especially here in platforms. That just makes it so much harder. So you touched on one of the signs, saying that labored breathing was a sign of how you can recognize an alcohol overdose or just an overdose in general. What are some other signs
Mhm.
that if the people can be looking out for if they have the situation for themselves?
I mean, that's a really hard question just because it's so dependent on what the substance that you're taking. And again, it's like,
True.
is the person like, even if someone's sharing with someone, hey, I'm taking this substance, you have to like, there's just so many variables where it's like, did they test it? Is it
Yeah.
actually what it is, what they said they're taking, you know?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so it's like you might think like, oh, someone's having a coke overdose, but it's like actually their coke was cut with fentanyl and they're
Yeah.
actually having a fentanyl overdose. It's like different things
Yeah.
like that. So you're gonna have different signs and symptoms. For the most part, I think the bigger one to watch out for is those like opioid overdoses where you're going to have those constricted pupils. I think that's a really one of the bigger telltale signs to me, especially for someone who is expected to be rolling. It's like you're
Yeah.
expecting your pupils to be big. So if you are rolling and you notice that, hey, my pupils aren't big, then you might want to check and make sure that you're taking the substance that you think you're
That's
taking.
actually a good point. So, okay,
Yeah.
so here might be a better question then. What are some key signs you can have for knowing to take your friend to the med tent? Like, let's say you have someone in your group who isn't, is kind of looks a little off. Like, what is the when should you take them to the med tent? Like, when should be that moment of like, hey, this person is not doing okay?
I like this is going to be controversial. I think at any point, even like, dude, even if you're having a tummy ache, you having a headache, I think at any point, if you don't feel like you're
I
okay,
don't think that's
take
controversial. The med tents
take
are there for a
use of
reason.
that. Yeah, it's like you're paying for that med tent as part
I literally
of
went for a
your
tampon.
freaking
So
no,
like
literally. So it's like I have seen people go for burns, for sunburns. I've seen people
yeah.
go because they're just too hungover. You know, like I don't think that I think that it is acceptable at any point to be able to go to the med tent. I don't think you should be waiting. If your friend, I think a few telltale signs that you should probably go to the med tent is one, your friend can't stand up or walk. Standing not being able to stand up or walk, you're on the brink of something that's
Yeah,
not safe.
that's a
And
really good or what I've
yeah,
always looked for, I think, is a lot of sweating, even if it's hot,
yeah.
if you're sweating from your forehead a lot and your
Hmm.
face is really red, that's usually a sign of something
Yeah.
and it's not normal. So if someone can't get themselves to a med tent, what do you do?
I mean, that's the part. Here's my thing is that, again, so much of this preparation comes before the festival because you don't want to be worrying about these things at the festival or
Exactly.
actively while a crisis is happening. Before you
Literally.
go into a festival, what I like to do, the way I like to navigate before I'll go into a festival, I'll put all my stuff away, and then I go locate all of the different medical stations. I locate where all the different water is, all of the different
That's a good no,
bathrooms.
that's actually a really good advice for
Yeah.
anybody who I actually probably should be better about that, especially in newer stuff. I didn't do that at Lost Lands and I should have, honestly. Like I think that's a really good idea to make sure you
Yeah.
know where everything is. Like that's the I should have done that. Why didn't I do? I'm gonna like, I know where everything at Base Canyon is because I've been there twice. But if you're going to a new festival, you should like I'm going to Imagine this year. I'm definitely going to be doing that and making sure I walk to all the med tents because
Mhm.
I'm gonna be alone basically. So like
Do
I'll be
you
with other
know
people,
it
but
took me forever to find out where, additionally, like, where also because the chill zones are, it took me forever to find out where Base Canyon's chill zone was. I didn't know that
I
until the third day of last year, and I went in. It was perfectly air conditioned and cool. The coolest air conditioning I had experienced that whole entire weekend, even including my time in the med
I
tent.
didn't
Like, the
know
med
about
tent
that
was
actually. Wait,
there's bean bags, there's games. They'll bring you
what?
cold water. Like, oh my god, it
Where
is
is
like
that?
it's like behind where the Starlit stage was. It's like it doesn't even look like you're supposed to go in
You
there.
know
Like
what? I
it's
think I know what
I,
you're talking about. I was there like a giant line to get in there?
no, there
Really?
was no one in there. There was
Oh,
literally no one in
interesting.
there. On the third day when I
To be
went in, there
fair,
was like seven other people there.
I'm gonna have to go on a giant hunt to find the VIP section because I've gone VIP at Base Canyon the last 2 years and have been unsuccessful in finding the bathrooms each year.
It's whack over there. The way that it's like all
I'm gonna have
situated.
to like
It's
I'm gonna have to find the bathrooms this year because I'm not trying to go into the regular bathrooms at Base Canyon this year. I like my VIP bathrooms. Uh, so Okay, so this is kind of like a hypothetical question, but last year at Lost Lands, I saw a guy in the main stage crowd. He was basically driven away on an emergency cart. He did not look good. He had a friend next to him basically. If I was that guy's friend, what should I be doing to ensure their safety while waiting for the cart? So like I have this friend next to me and we're waiting for the cart. What should I be doing?
I would personally, I would be asking the people around me to make some space. I would be laying that guy on his left or his right side because if he's gonna vomit or
Yep.
anything like that,
It's
then
important that they're
he's
laying
not
on their
gonna,
side.
yeah, that they're not gonna choke on it. If they're
Yep.
gonna potentially maybe even have a seizure, some
Yep.
things like that can happen as
And you can
well.
vomit
Then
while in a seizure as well. So the being turned on your
yes.
side is really important.
Yeah, I think, and also it's just generally gonna take less energy for the person to stand. I think everyone can relate to that when you're messed up
Yeah.
or something wrong is going on. It's like you'd
Yeah.
much rather be on the ground than having to like
Yeah.
hold your own weight and stand and
Exactly.
wait for someone.
Yeah. I think making the space is a really good
Yeah.
idea. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it was in a crowd, so they had to make space for the cart anyways. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, I think giving your friend and helping your friend with that space, like I think about that a lot. I
Mhm.
love to be honest. Like I just remember it was literally the first day of Lost Lands, and not even a few hours in, and the entire main crowd at the prehistoric stage had to make like a giant opening because someone overdid it, and they had to do a med cart and everything.
Mhm.
It definitely like put a lot of stuff into perspective for me that day. I was like, man, here I thought like maybe I might maybe do something. I don't know. And I was like, nope, never mind. It's
Yeah.
just
You're
it's
like, thanks.
hard. Yeah, no, it's hard like watching that kind of stuff as someone who's been raving for such a long time. And I've never had any experiences like that. And I don't know if it's because of what I've chosen to and to not take, or if it's just made my own mindfulness. So we're kind of switching gears a little bit. We're going to kind of going into more content stuff when it comes to drugs and content in terms of drugs, basically.
Yeah.
So you have been very vocal on your TikTok when it comes to your dislike for certain creators in the scene.
You could say
And
hate.
yeah, without naming them. Okay,
Like,
what is
you could
it?
say hate.
What
I hate
yeah,
it.
what is it about their content that bugs you so much? So for anybody who doesn't know, it's about any of these creators who are making glamorization videos saying like they're mixing something, but it's all in good fun. Like it's just for a silly little TikTok. It's.
It's I just don't like any jokes that promote any unsafe behaviors. And it's like drug interactions, that's an unsafe behavior. Picking up
Yep.
ground scores and not
Oh, I
testing
can't
them,
stand
that's an
ground score videos.
that's an unsafe behavior. I think jokes about like I don't know. There's like it's a fine line for like the jokes about taking too much because it's like sometimes it can feel like too much.
Yeah.
Like if you take a lot of shrooms, it can feel like too much,
Yeah.
but there's no amount of shrooms I can take that would literally
Yeah.
kill me.
Yeah.
But so it's a fine line, but I just
I try really hard for that one because I
hard.
personally do rave skits. Like I know you've seen my rave skits and stuff. I try really hard to never cross the boundary of like I think the most I've made about taking something is more like when you haven't taken something and for me, I whenever I decide to trip again, I always have that moment of should I have done this?
Yeah.
So like that's what I like those that's the line of which I will go to, but I don't anything more than that. I'm like it's just I
Yeah.
don't know. I cannot personally get myself to post any rave skits about anything other than tripping on acid or shrooms. Like it just doesn't feel like even with Molly, like it doesn't feel like it's something to be made a joke out of. Because like
No.
I don't know how to explain that. Like it just when it comes to tripping, it's a very much different thing than making a video about rolling too hard or something like that. It's just so much
You
I feel
can't
like there's
die on it. Like that's the thing
there's
is that scientifically you
yeah,
cannot die
you'll
from
get out
taking
of the
too
bad
much
trip, but
psychedelics.
you can't get out of mixing bad things.
Yes.
So, what do you think is the most harmful thing about that kind of content? So, these creators who are making the videos about ground scores and one of our personal favorites, someone joking about mixing alcohol and ketamine. Um, what do you think about that is so harmful, especially on TikTok?
Dude, because people don't like
They
I
don't
mean
read the
going through
captions. They don't read the captions.
no. No, they don't read the captions. They're not going out and doing this research. Their knowledge on favors and everything related to favors is coming from freaking TikTok. And if half of that is humor about taking these different things, it's
Who started the
dude,
ground score videos? Because what? Why? Like, who started that? Like, when has that ever been something that, like, what? I
if you
remember
want to take a
seeing
ground
that.
score and take it home and test it and go through all the steps to do that, then great. But
Yeah.
I just think that it's just risky, man. It's I don't know. I'm sorry that people are feeling whatever they're feeling in their lives, that they have to go out and do these kinds of behaviors and act
Yeah.
this certain way and have this mentality when it comes to favors. I think that they
Yeah.
can, I think the purpose of favors is to
Yeah.
enhance an already cool experience. I don't
Exactly.
they should not be the whole experience. And I think for
Facts.
so many people that I I myself had a turning point, I would say about a year ago, where from Base Canyon 2021 to Base Canyon 2022, my mindset surrounding taking favors really changed because I realized I was more interested in taking the favors and I was more excited about being a roly poly than I was to attend the rave.
Oh,
And
I definitely feel that. That was me probably the
yeah,
first couple years. Now it's the music. Like, there's something about that
yes,
music that always brings me back. So, how
exactly.
is their content glorifying drugs, even if it's seen as a funny joke?
I don't want to say
Maybe
I don't want to
glamorizing is a better word because it's not they're make I know that when I see these videos, it definitely appears to me that they're like, you should be taking this stuff. Like, this is what you should be doing at festivals, you know?
Can you say the question
No,
again?
it's okay. Yeah. So, how is their content like glamorizing drug usage, basically? Because some
Man,
people
I
don't see it
wouldn't
as that. Some people don't see it. They think that it's just a joke. Maybe you don't, but personally, I've always seen that kind of content as like you're glamorizing the use of doing drugs and mixing these combinations.
I don't know if glamorizing, I guess, necessarily is the right word. Do I think they're normalizing it?
Oh, that might be a
Yes.
better word. That's probably is
Yeah.
a better word, honestly.
I
Um,
think they're normalizing it for sure because it's you're making people think that this is a regular thing that people go out and do, that they go out and pick up drugs off of the ground and that they take them, that they go out to the club and that they get silly and they do K and drink alcohol.
yeah,
You're making people think that's a normal thing. You look at a video, it has 50,000, 100,000 likes. Well, my thought is that, oh, 100,000 people can relate to this video of
yeah,
taking K and alcohol. That
yeah, which
must
is
be
really
an
terrifying to
okay.
see.
That doesn't communicate to the general rave
Yeah,
population that, oh, that's a deathly drug thing. Well, 100,000 other people can relate to that content and they do it. So obviously it must be fine. Or
yeah.
yeah,
No,
there's
it's
just
scary. It's scary because people who have never raved before or have never seen a single rave video in their life could possibly see this as their first video and that's what they
yeah,
think of the rave scene.
exactly.
Like, it breaks my heart that there are so many creators out there who are still making this kind of content because it's not what the
Yeah.
rave scene's about. It's not it I understand that, like, it is normal. Okay, it is not normal. I don't want to say the word normal. I hate the word normal. It's a weird word. It is common for people to take
Yeah.
favors. It's common. Okay, it is, but it's to enhance the experience, and you shouldn't be doing it all the time. Like, you shouldn't. I personally don't think you should have to do a some sort of substance at every single event. Like,
No, you
I think
shouldn't.
I really think that, like, if you're going to a festival, like, if you should be able to experience one whole day like sober. Like, California sober, okay,
Yeah.
smoking weed's different. Because I got anxiety. A lot of people got anxiety. Sometimes the social anxiety is so real. You just got to take a hit, you know?
Yeah.
But like, sometimes though, there's too many people around me and I need to walk around and smoke my little blunt and then I'm good. But I think there's such a difference in that than like being like, oh, I'm having anxiety, let me take a point, like, what?
Yeah.
That's not going to help your situation. um so what is the biggest piece of advice you can give to these, let's say, like, my hope is that some newer ravers pop in and see my podcast when they're scrolling on TikTok, right? What what are like some new ravers who are watching? If you're going to partake in anything or drink in anything, what is the biggest advice you want to give? If you are going to partake, this is like, what do you want to say?
This is, can I just like give like my whole ideal game plan?
Sure.
Like, okay, like this is how I would navigate if I had the chance to start my whole rave career over again and start from scratch. This is how I would navigate festivals, and this is how I suggest to all new ravers to navigate festivals. If you're going with a group of friends, establish a safety plan for yourself that has your information contact or your emergency contact information, has anything that medical may potentially should know, and what you would like done in a variety of situations. Like, for example, in mine, I have anxiety attacks and I have meltdowns, and they can get pretty violent and bad. And so I have in my safety plan what I would like people to do if that were to happen in that instance, as well as if I accidentally take too much or something is crossed and it didn't test it right and I get put into a bad situation, this is what I would want you to do and who I would want you to contact. I established that for myself, and then I established that for all of my other Rave fan members, and then
That's really smart.
we have all of that information shared with each other. So no matter who ever ends up getting stuck with who, that we would know what to do in whatever situation and know
That's
who to
really smart.
contact in whatever situation. And then additionally, making sure that you're testing all of your favors and all of your substances before you go in and do this. I also think it's really important to evaluate what's your intention behind taking these things, you know, like are like just be really mindful about that. And I think the
Yeah.
more mindful
Setting an
you
intention
are
is
about
important.
that, yeah, it's like once you set that intention, I feel like the favor is a lot less likely to disrespect you.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so too. If you're in the mental
yes.
headspace for it, it's just going to go a lot smoother.
Yes, exactly. And then additionally, it's like also making sure that you have all of those things to be comfortable in whatever situation. Having those vomit bags, having a fan,
Ooh, I remember you
having,
saying you recommend everyone have a vomit bag, and that no
yes.
matter what, that is smart. I think that is very smart. You should have a vomit bag no matter what. You should always carry one around. Usually medical has those, don't they?
Yes, you can go and
That's
ask
what I thought.
medical at any point because some people you can't afford to go buy them off of Amazon. I'm lucky my friend Olivia is a nurse and she can get them whenever. And my mom also is a nurse, so she gets them for me whenever she can. And so, but
And
yeah,
it's a
you
good
can also,
excuse to like go to find the med tent, like when
yeah,
the day one of festival, it's like, you know what, let's go find the med tent, get some vomit bags, figure
yes.
out where everything
Go
is. I
get
think
some
that,
vomit bags, a band-aid or two, like
yeah. Oh,
different
I
things like
always, I
that.
always come with like a full ass first aid kit when it comes to like in my fanny pack. I got like everything. I am so clumsy that I myself trip and fall. Like literally the other day, I was taking out my down stem and I sliced my finger open.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, but I was like, all I had to do was go 3 feet over and grab my fanny pack with all my bandages in it, because it's like it's just what I do. So I think carrying around a first aid kit is also really smart to anybody
Yes.
watching. Like carrying that anything to
Yes.
help. You just never know. You never know if you're gonna accidentally injure yourself because you're outside. So
Yeah.
all right, so that's all my questions basically. So do you have before we end this? Do you have anything else you want to say, recommend, or let the people know?
I don't know. I don't think so. Honestly, I just want people to be kind. I want this community to stay a community, but I feel like we can't be a community with all of this dissonance around favor education and how
Yeah,
to
that's
navigate these things
exactly.
respectfully. Yeah.
That's why I wanted to start this. I really wanted people, like, if you are going to partake, which is going to happen, I want you to be safe. I want you to survive. I want you to be able to live to see the next day,
Yeah.
I don't I it breaks my heart whenever like I don't know, maybe it's because I'm autistic, but like whenever I read about a death at a festival, it like hits me. Like there is just
Yeah.
something about reading about a death at a festival that I'm just like it hits different. I don't know. So, for anyone watching, I hope that you learned something and that you were able, if you are going to partake, that you learn to take care of your body, take care of your mind, take care of yourself. And if you aren't the best at doing that in your day to day life, make sure you're taking a little bit of extra care to do that when you're at a festival because it really matters when you're taking these favors. So thank you for coming on and being my first episode.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we're finally here, and it's been 3-4 months in the making. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something, and we will see you online.